This is the first of two videos on 8.2. There's two new centers for the triangle. I promise once we do these two, we'll be done. We only have 4 total centers that we want to cover. But the first one is the intersection of the medians. And so what are the medians? Well, the medians are defined as a segment whose endpoints are a vertex of a triangle and the midpoint of the opposite side. So for example, this one here, here's the midpoint of AC, right? A to here is congruent to C to there, and then up to B. So really here, this segment is a bisector of AC, but it's not a perpendicular bisector, so keep that in mind. So this is how we're going to define our medians. And if we have all 3 medians intersect, actually, one sec here, as it turns out, as we go along this median, half of the mass, or half of the area of this triangle is on the left, half of the area is going to be on the right. So if this was a real physical triangle, like a cardboard cutout or steel or something like that, the balance line would be along this median here. It would be balanced. So therefore, when we find the intersection of the medians, called the centroid is also the balance point of a triangle. So the centroid theorem simply says, the centroid theorem states that the centroid of a triangle, and the centroid here is the intersection of the medians, is located 2/3 of the distance from each vertex to the midpoint of the opposite side. So they're saying that AP here, A to P, so this distance here, is equal to 2/3 of AX. So this one here. So for example, if we knew that YP was, say, 5, and I asked you for PB, you would know that since PB is 2/3 and this is 1/3, this would be 10, right? Okay, we'll do some examples. This one asks us to use the centroid theorem to find the length. So our givens are AF is 9. I'll go ahead and label that here. That's 9. CE is 7.2. CE is 7.2. Okay, we need to find the length of AG. A to G, we know is 2/3 of that total blue length. What is 2/3 of 9? Well, it's 6. Okay, we'll try some harder ones. AF is 9. There won't always be 9, I promise. And CE is 7.2. CE is 7.2. Okay, now we need to find length of GE. So G to E. Now we know that G to C is 2/3 of this total distance, right? So they're going to get kind of complicated on us here. And we can go through all the steps if we really want. But most of you should be able to skip right ahead and realize that E to G, or sorry, I'll back up. If C to G equals 2/3 of CE, that means E to G equals 1/3 of CE. Go ahead and use this shortcut here. This short side, this short segment, is 1/3 of the total length. So therefore, if EC is 7.2, we can do 1/3 of that. We don't have to go through all the steps they have here. They're going to do it in a little bit, well, roundabout way. Oh, there we go. So they're subtracting the 2/3. We can just do 1/3. We can just say, okay, what is 1/3 of 7.2? And that gives us 2.4. Okay, see if you can do this one. Pause. Not in distress, sorry. Oops. Sorry, I'm showing you the answers here. Okay, so for number 6, L is 8 units from the centroid. Therefore, we want the length of the median that has one endpoint at L. We can draw a picture for this. We have triangle LMN, and it says L is 8 units from the centroid. So we'll draw the centroid in here somewhere. We can say that's 8. Find the length of the median that has one endpoint at L. Well, that's this median here. We know that if 8 is 2/3 of the total, we can set up a little algebra problem. 8 is equal to 2/3, whatever that total is. We can essentially multiply 8 by 3/2, or the reciprocal, because this is 12. Similarly, we can draw pictures for this. Let P be the centroid of triangle STU. STU, we'll call that P. SW be a median. So we start at S, we go through P, we go to W here. If SW equals 18, so if this whole length is 18, right, the whole median, SP is going to be 2/3 of that, and PW is going to be 1/3. So 2/3 of 18 is 12. 1/3 of 18 is 6. Finally, I cut this one out a little bit. I'll just show you this one. Let you figure this one out. Okay. We can also do this in the coordinate plane. So in the coordinate plane here, if we were given our coordinates, right? So we have coordinate, 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 and then we need to find what that median is. We can calculate the median simply by figuring out one of the midpoints, and then using that point plus the other vertice to create a line, right? So for example, the midpoint of QR, again, we could use midpoint formula, or we average the x values and then average the y values. So the average of 6 and 0 is 3, the average of 8 and 4 is 6. So that gives us 3, 6. Similarly, we're going to find the midpoint here to draw the median. The average of 0 and 3 is 1.5. The average of 8 and 0 is 4. So we go to 1.54. Boop. And then we can draw it. Interestingly enough, these cross at the centroid, right? The centroid is at the coordinates 3, 4. Okay. That's it. I'm going to do the other one in another video. So.